Cape York, my favourite touring destination of all time in Australia. After doing a lot of different runs up the Cape in different vehicles, towing, not towing, the most expensive four-wheel drives you can get to some of the cheapest four-wheel drives. But over the past 2 months, something that just keeps coming up over and over again. Where should I go in Cape York? How long do I need? So we thought, why not kick back, have a cold beer, run you through some of the highs, the lows of our trip, take you from the very start when you leave Cairns right through to the very tip. And at the end, we're gonna wrap it up with some tips, tricks, do's and don'ts of heading up to Cape York. So today, it's back. Explore Yarns. Grab a cold beer. This is it. Strap yourself in. Okay, guys, so you're about to leave Cairns. Now, the big question you're probably all thinking is, well, when do we even go? What time of year works? So let's run through that, guys. The season is 110% dependent on how big the wet season was. Rule of thumb, normally start heading up Cape and the old Telegraph Track starts to open up end of May. If they've had a really light wet season, mid-May. If they've had a big wet season, definitely towards the end of May. After that, a few cars start going through. The track definitely starts to define itself for what it's going to be that year. Some years are definitely harder than others. I've driven some years that are just insane. Other years that have been quite easy, almost. Oh. Big wheel, oh! Oh, Dino, he took his mum's advice, holy dooly, he gave it the right foot and then some. You know, everyone thinks Cape York is so difficult. First time I ever did Cape York was in a 2-inch lifted D22 Navara. Completely unexperienced up there, didn't know where we're going, what we're doing. We just jumped in the car. It was actually with Berkey, the big moustache man, and we spent 5 weeks driving around Cape York. So if you want to go a little bit later, June, July is definitely peak Cape York season for 2 reasons. One, it's the best weather up there, hot days, plenty of water around, all the waterfalls are flowing. And secondly, Queensland, we got June, July school holidays. So it can be extremely busy, and I mean crazy busy for a very remote place in this country around that June, July period. If you want to avoid lining up 5, 6, 8 cars deep to do an obstacle, sneak up before the start of the June holidays, or go after the July holidays. I've been up a little later on, September, October. I think we ran up in the budget builds. We were very lucky that there was actually a random downpour just before we got there. So we still had great water, no crowds, and it was pretty hot during the day. So you're gonna wanna get in and swim all the time. The longer you leave it, the drier and hotter it will get. So guys, let's kick it off. Now you know what time of year you should go. Let's run through 3 different ways that you can sort of start your trip when you're leaving Cairns. So route number 1, guys, you pull up to the Daintree River. You actually get on a little ferry and you cross over into Cape Tribulation region. This is an epic little place. The only problem is it's not very far out of Cairns, but I absolutely love staying there, and I feel like it is worth stopping, taking in the scenery. The Cape Trib region is, I think, the only area in Australia where the rainforest comes down and hits the ocean. There is wildlife galore. It is a thing of absolute beauty. And then you roll into stop number 1, Cape Tribulation Campground. Now, this is a cracking little spot. There's some awesome little fishing spots just there. The camping is incredible. The amenities are great. Oh, bit of bad news, but no pets. You right to wait in the car?
Yeah, wait in the car.
That's a cracking spot to do so. Now, once you're at Cape Tribulation, there's sort of 2 options. You can either camp at Cape Trib Campground or you can camp at PK's, a backpackers. I would recommend you camp at Cape Tribulation. It is a much nicer campground. And then you can do the walk in the afternoon. You can go straight up via the beach, go in, check out PK's, have a couple of cold beers, play pool, and then you can walk back down to your campsite if that's what you're into. Now, along that Cape Trib road, there is actually a few sneaky little waterfalls. So make sure you're just cruising, keep your eyes out. There is a couple of very sneaky ones. I'm not gonna point them all out. I know I was gonna give you some hot tips and I will, but some of those you're gonna have to find for yourself, which is half the fun. Now, once you pack up and you're leaving camp, this is where it gets exciting, guys. This is where the bitumen turns into dirt, and you feel like we're away, we're on the adventure. Now, you're on the Bloomfield track, and it does have a couple of really steep inclines. Over the past few years, they've been concreting more and more of this, and I'm now confident enough to say that I would definitely take your caravans through this road. If there hasn't been any rain, you'll be absolutely fine, and it is a beautiful drive through some cracking creeks. You come around, and once you get through the steep stuff and you get to the Bloomfield River. This used to be a fun little crossing, Woodgel crossing. You'll haul through there, the next major spot, and once again, this is a must stay, in my opinion, the Lion's Den Hotel. This is actually top 3 favourite pubs in Australia. Character for days. So if you don't want to spend the night, definitely drop in, support the locals, grab a cold beer. They do a great feed. The pizzas are incredible. The palmies are off their head. So it's definitely worth a lunch stop, if not a night there for a couple of cold ones. From there, guys, you can basically make your way up into Cooktown. So, guys, you've got 2 routes left. One is the highway. Let's just get that one out of the way now. That's for your caravanners. That's for your big vans. That's for the older grey nomads that just want to cruise and they don't want all the obstacles to make their way up to Cooktown. Now, this might also be a good option if you are very short on time and you're really heading up there to just conquer the old Telegraph Track, get to the tip and haul ass home. You know, you will save yourself a couple of nights. You don't even have to head out into Cooktown. You can dart off and pretty much get straight up towards Laura and on the run. Route number 3, the Creb Track, the mighty, infamous Creb Track. If you are a more hardcore, experienced 4-wheel driver, I would definitely recommend putting this on your bucket list. Now, I've been up to Cape York 6 times, and I think 2, I think it could only be twice when I was up there that the Creb Track was even open. Now, it's been raining, the Creb Track's closed. If it looks like you're about to get a lot of rain, don't do the Creb Track. The Creb Track is one of those crazy 4-wheel drive tracks that in the dry, it's not extremely challenging, but as soon as you get any moisture on it, the slip and slide starts happening, and you can just imagine that when it starts raining, it is not a matter of how good a 4-wheel driver you are, it is completely impassable. The hills are so long and so steep and so slippery in the wet that you just can't get up them. They're so long and steep on the way down that if you lose traction and start sliding, you're probably not stopping anytime soon if you can try and pull off, all for adventure. Bloop. So that's where it's one of those, if you're an avid 4-wheel driver, it's going to be on your list. But if you get there, guys, and it says track closed, don't drive it. You will have a bad time. Towing on the Creb. We've done one trip where we towed on the Creb Track. Lane took a Trackabout camper behind an 80 series, and we got away with it just. My recommendation would probably be not to tow on the Creb Track after previously doing it. We took the budget build cars, and if we had been towing on that trip, would have been a very different story. So I probably would say if you're towing, rule out the Creb Track unless it is bone dry. That's kind of your options, guys. So the Creb Track brings you up pretty much straight down into Woodgel Crossing. As you're coming through the Creb Track, you do get rewarded. There is an absolutely stunning swimming hole and massive waterfall. Then once again, you can stop in Lion's Den Hotel and make your way up to Cooktown. It's pretty fun reminiscing on some of these old trips. Every single time you do Cape York, you have a different experience. Let us know in the comments which was your favourite series of the ones we filmed. Ram, 79, Disco, or the 76. Just for commenting, guys, and telling us your favourite series. We're going to pick a random winner. I'm going to give you a $500 Explore Life voucher for you to go shopping and load up on some cool gear for your next adventure. Now, this is where the PDR really starts. This is where it starts to kick off. This is where the corrugations begin. And if you've never experienced corrugations, strap yourselves in because you're in for a wild ride. Now, once again, sometimes you get it right and there's been a fresh grate and you can absolutely cruise up these roads. Other times, they've had a bit of rain or they haven't been maintained. You haven't had the grader come through for a while. You will be hanging on for dear life. Rule of thumb for corrugation driving, guys, is slow down, air down. By dropping some pressure out of your tyres, you can take some of that shock out of your suspension and out of the rattle going through the whole car. So you're into it, guys. You're banging along on the corrugations, and what you're pretty much going to come across for the next couple of 100 kilometres is roadhouses. They are typically stations, working cattle stations that supply fuel, a couple little supplies. A couple of them have got some cracking lunchtime burgers and a campground normally attached to each one. We do tend to move pretty quick when we're punching up the PDR because we want to get up to that good stuff. We want to get up near that old Telegraph Track, and then we take the foot off the gas and we slow down. All right, guys, you're back hauling. You pass another cracking little roadhouse called Archer River Roadhouse. Hot tip, they do a cracking burger. I tend to stop in at all of these little roadhouses. You might miss one or two, but normally it's a great spot to stop, decompress from being on the corrugations, have a yarn to the boys and girls and the family, make sure everyone's going all right, check the cars are still, you still got wheels on it, all that sort of jazz. Once you leave Archer River, you go about 36 Ks and there is a turnoff. So if you take this turnoff, guys, you will be heading out. There's two places that you would have heard of before. Number one is Lockhart River. And the other one is Chili Beach. Now, sometimes I've been all the way out to Chili Beach. It is a sensational campground. Problem is bloody windy, and it is windy 90% of the year. If you get Chili Beach with good conditions, it is as good as it gets. I'm talking bent over palm trees, crystal blue water, and just silica white sand. If you've got a tinny and the wind, that easterly isn't blowing, get your ass straight out to Chili Beach. It is incredible. A lot of the time I will check what the wind's doing, and if it's blowing a gale, I don't head out there. Mind you, I have been there and I've seen it. I've seen it at its worst and I've seen it at its best. It's really not worth the stop if it's blowing a Megan, but it is worth checking out if conditions are pretty good. Probably just over halfway out towards Chili Beach, there is a turnoff. Now this turnoff has got one sign which changes year to year, but normally it's just a little bit of paint on a tree. It is the infamous Frenchman's Track. Now, this is one for your more experienced four-wheel drivers. It's got one really gnarly creek crossing, and the second one is not too bad, but a steep exit. So the Frenchman's Track, I'm gonna recommend good suspension, good set of rubber underneath you, and a winch is an absolute must-have. I would go as far as saying you're going to want at least two of you in the convoy to be safe. The very first obstacle is a drop down into the Pasco River. Now, if you're going early in the season, this will be deep. We had water come up on the bonnet of the Ram when we were there last time, and the water can be absolutely pumping, which is where I'm saying you sort of need to be experienced, and it definitely helps to have another vehicle with you. If you do get stuck, you can have someone winch you out backwards. Otherwise, you definitely need that winch to be able to self-recover. This is one of those spots at Cape York that I recommend as you're coming into it, you stop, you take 5 seconds, you breathe, and you actually prepare. I always get all my recovery gear set, but this is one of those locations where prior preparation prevents poor performance. So this couldn't be more true. There's not too many locations on the whole of the Cape that I'll recommend you actually stop, prep, and get ready, but this is definitely one of them, guys. Now, once you get through the Pasco, guys, you still have the Wenlock to contend with. Wenlock is not too bad. It's an easy crossing unless you're super, super early in the season. If the Pasco's too deep, you're not even getting to the Wenlock. So normally if you get through the Pasco, you are fine. The Wenlock is easily crossable, but it does have a steep, very steep exit on the other side and can be quite challenging to get out. Once again, this changes season to season, but a winch and you'll make your way out of the Wenlock at the worst case scenario. Once you get off the Frenchman's, guys, we are back on the PDR and we are smashing straight up to Bramwell Station. Otherwise, you can get up to the Bramwell Junction. The junction is where the PDR goes one way and the old Telegraph begins. The sign, the old Telegraph Track, that's where you get to. So once again, that's where you load up on fuel at the Bramwell Junction, but that is your last little stop for, if you're on the old Telegraph Track, between 2 to 4 days, depending on how hard you want to push it. So you grab your fuel, this is where you do your last little bit of prep, make sure the cars are in good nick, any little repairs, this is your last little sort of spot to get that dialed in. And then the choice is yours. Do you want to take on the mighty old Telegraph Track, or do you want to take the PDR around? There is options to dart in and out of the old Telegraph Track to still see some of the really cool locations. Now, you decide to take on the old Telegraph Track. you're into it. You drive about 1 kilometre in and bang, welcome to Palm Creek. Now, if you had any hesitation, you're now shitting your pants. Palm Creek will scare the best of you. That initial drop, even I didn't drive that last time. There's been 3, maybe 4 cars endo on that track at the moment that I have heard about. And it is very, very narrow, which is pretty wild. Palm Creek used to be a nice roll in. Yeah, it was boggy and muddy for a long time, but it's just got steeper and steeper and steeper to the point where open your eyes, have a look, get out of the car. You can walk to the right and you can drop into the creek, drive all the way up the creek, and then you have 3 wild exits. There were 4, and once again, it changes season to season. Please, please try and take the main tracks. Really try your hardest not to push a new track. You can lower into Palm Creek with a winch. Everything's doable with some track maintenance, some track building, winching down into Palm Creek. Please do your best. We actually spend the afternoon rebuilding the track. A lot of the time we go early in the season. A lot of the big boys have been through early, big GQs, your Land Cruisers on song. It's so wet and muddy and the bog holes are huge. So we actually spend a bit of time rebuilding the track, getting the shovels out, cutting fallen trees, dropping them in the holes and making an exit that's actually drivable out of Palm Creek. A couple of years we've been there is borderline undrivable and you're winching just to get through, which is cool, right? It's part of the challenge. But at some point, sometimes a bit of track building, and I know even the track building will only get about 10 cars up before it tends to go to shit, and then everyone else needs to do their bit to sort of get the traffic flowing through. We're up. So the old Telegraph Track, guys, once you're on it, it is basically stunning creek after stunning creek after stunning creek. I really like to take at least 3 full days, so 3 nights, staying on the old Telegraph Track. Slow down. This is what you got up there for. You can smash it out, but enjoy it. Enjoy it. Pull up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Find the epic little campsite. Get the fire going, cook over the fire, swim in the creek, have cold beers with your friends. This is what Cape York is all about. Do not rush it. I'm gonna give you 2 little cracking ones that we normally stay at while we're cruising along. Dalhunty River. There is a sneaky left-hand turn on the Dalhunty that goes down to a little section on that river that is absolutely beautiful to camp at. So that's one cracking spot. Another honourable mention for campsite, Birdie Creek is another absolute cracker. Massive big holes, you cross it, and there is some really nice camping on the northern side of Birdie Creek. Definitely worth an honourable mention. Then, guys, we get up to Gunshot. Gunshot is one location on the old Telegraph Track that if you've missed the southern end of the old Telly, we call it, you can come in off the PDR and you can come in, dart down into Birdie Creek for a bit of a look. You could come in and stay in that little campground, and then you can come up towards Gunshot and you can check it out. Oh. Well, that's one way to get down. And it is a spectator sport. If you're up there when there's a few cars going through, kick back for the afternoon, sit in the creek, grab a couple of cold tins, and watch a few of the people have a crack at the big one. It is pretty cool. Gunshot is another one that changes every season. It moves a crazy amount. So now you've left Gunshot, guys. The next stop, you've got a beautiful little Cockatoo Creek, another little honourable mention for a campsite. And then the PDR actually crosses the old Telegraph Track. So this is where if you're in your caravans, less capable four-wheel drives, or you're more just wanting to get up to the tip of Australia, this is one spot where you want to jump on the old Telegraph Track, and there's 2 epic locations you can check out. Fruitbat Falls and Elliott Falls / Twin Falls. These are 2 of the most picturesque creeks in the whole Cape York region. They are also the busiest because everyone can get there via the PDR. But you're definitely going to want to stop there, chill out. If you've got kids, you might want to really book in for a night. This is also a location that you must book. They book out extremely far in advance, and you need to plan if you want to stay there. You've got a couple of epic little crossings coming up. The northern end does have some really fun little sections, boggy sections, and then it all comes to a head at Nolan's Brook Crossing. It is the most infamous crossing on the whole old Telegraph Track. It is the one that claims more vehicles than any other location. What it is a really soft, sandy bottom. You drive in, And if it's churned up, even if you've got all the berries in the world, you can end up floating because a lot of the time the deep is so creek. Oh, me. A lot of the time the river is so deep that you end up floating and you need a recovery. This is obstacle number 2 that I recommend you take 5, you prep your truck, your winches out, maybe you walk across the creek. There's always people camping on the other side, having beers, spectating. Another great spectator spot. Probably the best spectator spot other than Gunshot on the old Telegraph Track. Camp on the other side, chairs in the water, drink beers all day, have a great time. You'll be frothing on that. They weren't going to do the telly, and now they've come all the way through. They're going to be stoked. Everyone up there is friendly as buggery and would love to just lend you a hand. If they're not, they're a wanker. My little tip for Nolan's, right? This is my little tip from someone who's managed to sneak through 6 times. So what I tend to do, guys, is the old 3-car rule. 1 car might get through with 33s, no dramas. 2 cars might get through, and the 3rd car, you're down. Doesn't matter if you're more capable. Once it gets churned up, it gets churned up. So instead of following the exact track that all the cars take, come in and just turn just slightly. Just get half a wheel, a full wheel out of the wheel track. You're gonna have to do the same track in and then just take a little right or a little left, and don't drive in the exact same rut that everyone else does. And that's my little sneaky tip for making sure you actually will get through Nolan's. Righto, once you get through Nolan's, guys, you've done it. You've managed to conquer the old Telegraph Track. Vibes are high. You may want to pull up and camp there. A lot of the times you're frothing. You just want to get on the beers, celebrate, swim in the creek all afternoon because it is stunning. If not, you're back on the road, guys, and you get up to the Jardine River. This is where you get up, guys. You've made it to the Jardine. You get on the Jardine River ferry. It is run by the traditional landowners up there, and really that is the gateway into Cape York. Another reason, guys, that you want to get on the ferry and pay the ferry is because this covers your free camping for the whole Cape York region. Now, anywhere up there, guys, the old Telegraph Track especially, if you want to keep driving this track, anything you take in, please take out. If we don't keep this clean, it will get closed. And with more and more traffic going up every single year, and I do believe everyone has the right to enjoy this location and see this beautiful country of ours, just do the right thing, keep it clean, try and stick to the main tracks. There is little tracks there, guys, that are designed for you to put the right boot in and have a bit of fun. You know, that's what they're there for. Have a bit of fun. I'm not telling you not to have fun. Well, guys, you've got to cross the Jardine and you're going to make your way up. By now, you're really starting to get excited. You're on the home stretch. You've done the hard yards. So first stop is you pull into Bamaga, and that's where you're going to do a little restock as well if there's any of those little fruit and veg bits and pieces you've run out of. Little town there. There is a pub. You can go for a beer. There's a little bottle shop. Everything is quite expensive. From there, guys, you've sort of got 2 main campgrounds that are actual caravan parks. You've got Loyalty Beach Campground, which is where I went for the first 2 trips, I think, and then you've got Punsan Bay. Loyalty Beach has got some really nice beach camping right on the west coast there, and then my favourite is Punsan Bay. It's got the corrugation bar, and it is just an epic place. They've got the swimming pool. The scenery that you look over is absolutely stunning. The food's good, beers are cold, the margaritas are on. Punsan is a cracking place. Shout out to Jacko, good mate up there who's up there running that place. I've got to say it is a highlight to get up there. That's where you sort of want to base yourself. Maybe 2 nights at either one of those locations. Day 1, you normally roll in late. By the time you get there, it's late afternoon. You have a cold beer and you set up your camping, and then normally it's the next day that you make the run up to the tip. It's not too far, probably only half hour from Punsan Bay up to the very tip. So what we normally do is come in late, and I normally head up early morning, sort of crack of dawn type stuff, beat the crowds, and you basically come into a little car park, and then you've got to do a walk, and then you get there to the magical sign.
It's a race, it's a race. I hope I win. I lost!
Tip of Cape York, welcome, you've made it, pretty bloody cool. mighty V8s in the Troopy, guys, with all the bells and whistles. New winter range, hat, t-shirt, even a stubber cooler will get you in the draw. All you got to do is shop on the Explore Life. Good luck. So once you've made it to the sign, guys, you get the photo at the tip of Australia. You've made it. You sort of, that's my favourite part about the Cape York adventure is you're doing all this hard four driving and you're going through these little obstacles and the hardship and the mateship with getting all the cars through to get to a destination. And that, for me, is what makes Cape York so different to anywhere else in Australia. Just feels like you've accomplished something, and it's why it keeps me coming back, because every year it changes. The water levels change, the track conditions change. You always find an extra little hidden gem that you didn't know existed. And then at the end of it, you stand at the tip of Australia. Last year, we actually did it by boat, just to do something different. We took the tinny from Punsand Bay right around to the sign and parked up at the rocks there. It is definitely, or should be, on every four driver's bucket list. It's an absolute cracker. So guys, that's a cool little itinerary if you're looking at having a crack at Cape York and ticking off some big bucket list items. Now, mapping. Mapping is something that is quite important when you're heading up there. I use HEMA maps predominantly for Cape York. It is very well laid out, everything that you need to know, all the tracks they are on there. When you're trying to find some of these sneakier tracks, for example, the Frenchman's, HEMA's gonna be your best friend. New Tracks is another app that's probably worth a mention. New Tracks will also give you an idea of what vehicles have gone through. They have a bit of a grading system, so they'll tell you how hard it is and when was the last person to go through, which might be interesting when it comes to some of the closures up there. Now, the other thing, guys, I wanted to do, and we're gonna do this with every little Explore Yarn segment, is I've just put a couple of questions up on Instagram and said, have you got any questions about Cape York, so that I can answer your guys' questions. So if you're not already, guys, jump over, follow the Explore Life on Instagram. That's where we're gonna put up all these polls and you'll be able to get involved. Is Cape York actually as hard as everyone makes it out to be? I've had mixed responses, so this is quite a hard question to answer, but this is all gonna depend on your experience level. If you've spent time four-wheel driving, glasshouse, some of the harder wheeling in Australia, this is a walk in the park. If you have only done beach runs, the odd gravel road, and you've never done much off-roading, then some of these will be a challenge for you, but you definitely can do it. It's one of those things where you take your friends away. If you've got the right gear and equipment, which we'll cover off very shortly in one of the other questions, you can definitely get it done with a mildly set up touring vehicle. What modifications do you need for your four-wheel drive to take on Cape York? So, in my experience, I've done Cape York. The least capable car I've ever probably done it in was a D22 Navara. I don't think I had a winch. I had 32-inch tyres. I had good suspension and I had some Max Tracks with me. So I made sure I was with a car that did have a winch. And when I did the track, some of the sections probably weren't as hard as it is now. So if I was to sum up key modifications that you need: good rubber, good set of tyres. BF Goodrich is my recommendation, but good set of tyres, guys. Don't go up there with cheap overseas tyres. Good quality suspension kit. If you're running a standard setup four-wheel drive with factory suspension, I do always recommend you upgrade to a quality 2-inch suspension lift. A bull bar with a winch. I always recommend having a winch because that's your sort of best form of self-recovering. Definitely take a set of Max Tracks. I personally always travel with 4 Max Tracks. 2 are great to probably get you out of a bog on the beach. 4 will get you out of a lot of sticky situations. The bull bar is for protection from animals, but also a great place to put your winch. Communications, a good quality UHF, even if it's only a handheld. A good quality 12-volt system is extremely handy. You don't need to be overboard, but it's nice to be able to have a fridge. Do not, at any circumstance, go to Cape York without a snorkel. You never know when the rain's gonna hit or a puddle will come up. If you're going very late in the year, September, October, you might be able to get away with it, but you need a snorkel on your car. Other than that, guys, it's all you need. You don't need all the bells and whistles. Don't be discouraged. Don't go, oh, I'm not gonna go yet because I need to put all this shit on my car. You can get away with good suspension, a winch, throw a swag in the back and an esky if you had to.
Today, that's great.
All right, while we're wrapping it up, guys, let's talk about spares and tools.
Come on, you big strong man.
Now, this is something that I felt I really messed up in the start, and over the years I've got better and better with this. One thing I see people going up to Cape York absolutely go overboard on is spare parts. Mate, some blokes will literally take spare radiators, they've got spare tail shafts, they've got spares for just about every part other than the block of their engine. If you're on a big touring trip around Australia, there's definitely some spares that you're going to want to carry specific to your vehicle if you know they have a tendency of breakages. But sometimes less is more. Every spare part you throw in your car is extra weight. People overload the shit out of these vehicles for a touring trip, and what I've found is you don't use 30% of it. And I used to carry so much gear and I never used any of it, and it was just extra weight inside the vehicle. Head away for a camping trip on the weekend, fully loaded, like your Cape trip. We call it a shakedown trip, because chances are if you didn't use it on that weekend trip away on your shakedown trip, probably not going to use it up at Cape York. Maybe jump on the forums, search your individual vehicle, find out if there's any specific faults that you should be aware of. Over the years, I've learnt more and more and more, and now I take barely any spare parts away with me, to be honest, because I have such a rigorous maintenance schedule. All right, guys, to wrap it up, this is a couple of things I want to do. One, let me know in the comments if you've been to Cape York and how many times. I'm extremely interested to know how many of our viewers have actually been there. If you've never been there, chuck us the shucker emoji that you're planning a trip and you are gonna get up there at some point, because I really hope that our content does inspire you to get out there and see the most beautiful backyard in the whole bloody wide world. If you have any questions, fire away all your questions. We'll make sure I'm gonna make sure this episode I'll jump on. I'll reply to them all. I'm trying to remember everything to do with the Cape York trip while I'm sitting here having a cold traveller. So I'm sure I've forgotten a lot of things. If you guys have any tips for our viewers or any little secret spots that you'd like to share, chuck them in the comments, guys. This is a community. Let's get involved, but we'll make sure we answer all these questions. Let us know if you've enjoyed this style of content. Explore yarns. If you aren't subscribed, smack that subscribe button if you're enjoying it. To all of our subscribers, you are legends. Appreciate ya. Till next time, ring your mates, ring your family, and tell them it's time to go to Cape York. Book it in, get out there and live the Explore life. Yeehaw.